Ganges is famed for being the holiest river in India, with many people believing that bathing in it can cleanse them of their sins. Unfortunately, doing so just might result in them picking up an infection, since it's one of the most polluted rivers on the planet. It is the third largest river in the world with a consumption base of over 2 billion people. The ever-increasing pressure on the river has led to the dumping of raw sewage into the river, leading to its massive pollution. Due to the combination of chemicals in the river, water used for basic uses such as drinking or cooking leads to the spread of waterborne diseases. The river has a layer of floating plastics and other wastes which provide a poor image of this holy river. Besides, there are wastes that also come from performance of religious rituals. It has become severely polluted in the past few decades. Industrial effluent is regularly emptied into the waters, as is waste from the millions of people who live alongside its banks.
Geography lesson part 4, 3 places you didn't know exist, part 4b, the most polluted place on planet Earth. Located in the southern Ural Mountains in central Russia, Lake Karaki served as a dumping site for radioactive waste produced at Mayak, one of Russia's largest nuclear weapon production facilities during the Cold War. Lake Karaki is so polluted that if you were to visit, you'd be dead within an hour. At the bottom of the lake, there is an 11-foot layer of sediment that is composed entirely of radioactive waste. To make matters even crazier, Lake Karaki is almost 4 times as radioactive as Chernobyl. Head to my page for part 4c.
It's just a cigarette and it cannot be that bad.
Honey, don't you love me and you know it makes me sad.
Top most radioactive places in the whole world. Well, let me tell you, man. Let's go. Okay, so number 1, we got Fukushima in Japan. Believe it or not, Fukushima is actually deemed as one of the most radioactive places in the whole world. Cool, so basically what happened in 2011, there was a massive earthquake in Fukushima. Obviously, earthquakes and water don't really go hand in hand. Where the earthquake happened, it was right next to a nuclear power plant. No, it had the whole of Japan to have an earthquake, and they done it right next to a nuclear power plant. On top of that, it was right next to water, so this is where it all goes wrong. Earthquake ended up triggering a tsunami, and then the tsunami ended up going on to the nuclear power plant. That tsunami then ended up knocking out all of the backup generators at the nuclear power plant, and the reactors ended up spraying out loads of nuclear substances, which is very bad for your body. Ended up going into the sea, the air, everywhere. And then unfortunately, the whole of Fukushima needed to end up getting evacuated. I think we've all learned a lesson here. Just stop your country from having earthquakes. How hard can it be?
Most dangerous places on Earth. Bikini Atoll, Marshall Islands. Nuclear testing programs turned it into a radioactive wasteland. Skellig Michael Mountain, Ireland. This is one of the most dangerous tourist destinations in the world.
The most radioactive place on Earth, the Elephant's Foot, in the Chernobyl complex. You will not even last for a few hours. You'll die because of the radiation that it's emitting still.
This is the most radioactive place on Earth. The Chernobyl disaster was an absolute tragedy to say the least, and visiting the site is like stepping back in time. In the nearby ghost town of Pripyat, you'll find nothing but abandoned buildings, with each one giving you the chills. There's the iconic desolate theme park, several heartbreaking deserted kindergarten schools, and an empty supermarket filled with nothing but Soviet propaganda. It's crazy to think that it will not be safe for people to live here for more than 24,000 years, but I'm extremely grateful I had the chance to visit the site when I did, and it's definitely something that I will remember for the rest of my life. Subscribe to my channel for more travel videos.
The day that I found you, you were easy to love. Now all that you say makes me wanna cry on the floor. Cause you make me fall in love and then you make me fall down. Makes me wonder if I'm not enough for what is wrong. Baby, baby, I will let you go. Don't try to find me, I'm not yours anymore. Baby, oh, I will let you know. Nobody's gonna love you like I do. I thought I'll be with you for the rest of my life. You made
So this is where the world's first atomic bomb was tested over 70 years ago, and apparently it's still radioactive to this day. So after lots of planning and research, I found out how I could test this out for myself to see if it's true. So first we had to drive to the middle of nowhere, and then it was time to start collecting some rocks. This area looked like we were literally on another planet, and after about 30 minutes we collected all the rocks that we needed. In order to do this, we had to buy camera film, take some photos, and then put the rocks on top of the film for 24 hours. If the photos end up having a dark spot on them, that means the rocks are radioactive. I just sent the photos in to get developed, so we should have the results within the next couple days.
Top most contaminated places on Earth. Let me tell you, man. Let's go. Okay, so number one, we got... No, I'm not even going to say it. It's this place right here. It's in Russia. So between the 1930s and 1988, everyone was dumping so much waste into the water. It kind of backfired on everyone. There's a few reasons why. See, some of the water from the lakes, rivers and places like that, it's all contaminated and it gets lifted up into the clouds. Obviously, if you know how the water cycle works. Clouds then rain all over the city. And it creates something called toxic rain, which goes on people's skin, metal and things like that. And it starts to corrode on metals, making it go all rusty and dirty. On top of that, you're not even supposed to drink the water around this place. The water is so contaminated, not even your taps can filter the water properly. People who live here have a really low life expectancy. Men have 42 years, whilst women have 47 years. That's the oldest that they're expected to live up to. Crazy. Next we've got a place called Nami. Now before 2011, the population here was 17,000. Right now, it's 1,000. 2011, there was an earthquake, which caused a nuclear disaster. Everyone in the surrounding areas had to evacuate, especially Nami. So be careful. Hello my lovely people. Basically, I'm going to tell you, only you, no one else, the top most radioactive places on Earth. A bit weird hand movement. Let's go. Number one we have, actually I'm not going to say it. I'm just going to put it right there because I do not know how to say that. All you need to know is that it's in Brazil. In 1987, two thieves broke into an abandoned radioactive factory. Their objective was just to steal metal. But no, of course, they saw a blue glowy thing on the ground. So they picked it up, took it home and then sold it. The people that then brought it ended up in hospital the next day. The blue glowy thing turned out to be something that treats cancer and was radioactive. Don't know why they left that in an abandoned building, but you know. Next we got Chernobyl. It's only right that we bring in Chernobyl. Okay, so in Ukraine, there's this bad boy. Massive nuclear power plant. When this all went left, or south should we say, it released 400 times more radiation than it did on Hiroshima, Japan. It happened during a safety test, and then an explosion was triggered, with 6 to 7 million people getting radiation. Damn, my friend is crazy. Gang.